Hello students. In our previous video we have discussed about the concept of electric flux and Gauss law, and we have also proved the statement of Gauss law, and in that proof we have seen that the flux can be given by Q upon epsilon 0, which was the statement for Gauss law. Now after this we are going for some facts about the Gauss law. Okay, what are that facts? Let us go one by one here. So first is Gauss law is applicable for any closed surface area irrespective to its shape and size. It means that when you are taking the Gaussian surface, that Gaussian surface can be taken in any form, or you can have any kind of surface structure like this. Every area which I am drawing here, that all are acting like a Gaussian surface, okay, and the size also is not mattering here. The term Q is net charge enclosed in the closed surface. As we know that phi is defined by Q upon epsilon 0. So here this Q means it is net charge enclosed in the Gaussian surface, right? That is the meaning of this second statement. Then third, if Gaussian surface is chosen in such a way that some charges lie in surface and some outside it, then flux phi is due to all charges. However, charge is only enclosed in surface. This statement is very important. What is that? If Gaussian surface is chosen in such a way that some charges lie in surface and some outside it, then flux phi is due to all charges. However, charge is only enclosed in surface. What does it mean? Suppose you are having charges like this, and say you want to find flux here at this point P, and Gaussian surface you have drawn like this, only about these two charges. So according to Gauss law, when you are writing phi, that will be equal to Q upon epsilon 0. Let us say Q is the net charge enclosed in that Gaussian surface. But at this P, the flux is not only due to this surface or this system, it is due to this charge also, which is remaining here. This charge will also contribute here for the flux. But if you are writing the equation according to Gauss law, then this Q should be considered only enclosed in the Gaussian surface. That first of all you have to understand, right? That is the meaning of that statement here, right? Next, the fourth assumption or postulate here. Let us see here. Gaussian surface is drawn in such a way that it is not passing through discrete charge. However, it can pass through continuous charge distribution. Now, what is the meaning of continuous charge distribution? That we will discuss in next video. But when you are drawing any Gaussian surface, be careful that the Gaussian surface is not passing through a discrete charge. For example, suppose I am having such type of charges, okay, then don't draw the Gaussian surface something like this. Okay, what is the meaning of this? Some part of this charge is lying inside this Gaussian surface and some part of this charge is lying outward to this Gaussian surface. So when you are drawing the Gaussian surface, such type of thing is not allowed. But if you are having suppose continuous charge distribution, in that case it can be done. The concept of continuous charge distribution we will discuss later on, right? Gauss law is helpful for finding electric field due to a static charge for symmetric system. So if you are having suppose symmetric charge system, in that case Gauss law is again helpful, or it will give us the electric flux. Further, the charges which we are considering here for Gauss law, they are static, they are at rest. And the last, it is based on inverse square law. So Gauss law is also basically based on the inverse square law. These are some of the facts based on the Gauss law. Now, as we know that to understand the Gauss law, we have seen that if suppose you are having say such type of area, and say in that area suppose charge plus q is kept, then the flux coming out of this closed surface area is basically q upon epsilon 0. When I'm talking about this q, q means it is not a single charge, it is the sum of all charges enclosed in this area, right? But for simplicity we are taking it as q here. Now if there is no charge in this closed surface area, then obviously this q should be equal to 0. It means flux coming out of this system or this closed surface area should be equal to 0, right? So this is the concept of the Gauss law. If there is no charge enclosed in the Gaussian surface, the flux coming out of it, that surface, is assumed to be 0 here. Now this thing will prove also, okay? So for this case, let us take the example for validity of Gauss law. Let us say that we are having suppose a cylindrical Gaussian surface or closed area, and say this closed area is kept inside uniform electric field. Now be careful, this surface area or this area is kept inside the uniform electric field. Area as such is not consisting of any charge, okay? So obviously according to Gauss law, if I find the flux coming out of this surface area or this surface, it should be equal to 0. Let us try to test it, but before testing it, we will divide this cylindrical area in 3 surface areas. The first is this one, surface number 1, this is surface number 2, and this entire area which is along that, we can say that the length of that cylinder, that is the third area, okay? So first thing is this one. Now total flux is sum of flux of surfaces 1, 2 and 3. First thing is that if I take here the flux for each area here, the flux phi 1 will be equal to suppose minus ES. S is the surface area of area 1. Phi 2 I can take here as ES, and phi 3 will be taken as 0. Why it is so? See here, this is the first area, electric field is like this. As for this area, I can draw such type of area vector outward to it. So this is suppose ds, this is suppose E, so it is having angle of 180 between them. So that's why when we are defining phi 1, it will be E ds cos of 180, right? And here sum of ds is nothing but S now suppose, and cos 180 is minus 1. That's why if you take here the phi 1, it turns to be minus ES. Similarly, if you take phi 2, now electric field is like this area vector for 2 is like this, they are parallel to each other. Let us say this total area is suppose here S, then phi 2 will be equal to E ds cos of 0 if I take integration here, right? And integration of ds will turn to be simply S, cos of 0 is 1, so it is E into S. That's why phi 2 is equal to ES. Now the interesting thing is here, for the case of third area which is along this length, okay, for this I can draw such type of area vector. Area vector is vertical, electric field is like this. So area vector and electric field at every point, they are perpendicular to each other, and we know that cos of 90 is 0. Therefore from the definition, E ds cos of 90 for the case of this phi 3 I am writing here, so this becomes 0. So now if we find the net flux will be simply the sum of phi 1, phi 2 and phi 3. So we can write phi is equal to phi 1 plus phi 2 plus phi 3, and if we put the values of phi 1, phi 2 and phi 3, this turns minus ES plus 0. Ultimately it is equal to 0. So as this cylindrical surface is not having any kind of charge, so according to Gauss law, the flux coming out of this cylinder should be equal to 0, and same result we are getting. So in this way the validity of Gauss law can be explained. We are getting the result which we are expecting. So as expected, flux is 0 as cylinder is not having any charge enclosed in it. So this is about the facts of Gauss law and the example proving the validity of the Gauss law.